Okay, so shall we start? Yeah, welcome back to our JavaScript class. And in this class, we're going to be talking about JavaScript data types. So let's begin. We know that in JavaScript, you're able to create what we call variables. And in our last class, we talked about the const, the let, and the var declaration for variables. One thing we didn't talk about fully is the data types that you can find in JavaScript. So when you declare a variable like this, let's say const, let's use const for now, but you can use const, var, and let. You know the scopes where you can use them, maybe function scope, or block scope, or global scope. So let's say you declare constant fruit, right? Now, this fruit here could be a string or something else. The different types of data types we have in JavaScript are string, we have number, we have boolean, we have undefined, we have the object type, or let me first of all do null. Then we have the object type, the object data type. Now this object data type can contain an object, can contain an array, or can contain a date. These are all available data types in JavaScript. So to declare a string variable in JavaScript, you use what we call a double quote or a single quote around the value. This is the variable you have declared. When you put an equal to, you are saying I'm about to assign a value to this variable. So you're saying fruit is equal to banana. Take note of this quote here and this quote here. Take note of these two quotes. You could also have said, instead of using double quotes, you could also have said single quotes, banana. Both are fine. So when you log the value of fruit here, and you say console.log fruits, take note that you are logging the variable name, but it will give you the variable value. Can you see? Console.log fruit is what? Banana. So you could say, you can add a string and say the name of declared fruit is fruit. You see that we did not say it's banana. We said it's fruit because this variable has been declared up here and it has been assigned a value. You don't need to keep putting the value. Everywhere you go, just call the variable that has been declared. It will by default output its own value wherever you need it. Can you see? The name of declared fruit is banana. That is a string type. We can also have a number type. So you could say age. For example, age is a number. Some other people would say age is nothing but a number when they are trying to woo someone older than them. You know, right? I'm sure you must have done that before, Emmanuel. Okay, so constant age, like we said, is a number. So if it's a number, it does not have quotes around it. You just write it as it is. So age is equal to 25. And when you also log it, the declared age is age. Can you see that? The declared age is age. Yeah, you could also have what we call boolean. Boolean is true or false. Boolean is true or false. Those are the two values you can have for boolean. It's either a yes or no. And as you proceed in JavaScript, you'll be needing such kind of variables to determine whether you want to open a modal or a toggle, you know, a menu toggle where you click on it and you can choose menu items. Yeah, so you can decide open menu is true or false. If it is true, open. If it is false, close. So when they click, you change the value back to open. When they click again, change the value back to false. You can always use Boolean to achieve such a thing in JavaScript. And so let's say constant is male. We want to know if this variable, this person is a male. We could say true, or we could also say false. So let's log this. Console.log this person is a male, and then is male. Now, so this person is a male, true. Can you see that? If it's false, this person is a male, false. Can you see that? So this is how to declare a Boolean variable in JavaScript, a number variable in JavaScript, a string variable in JavaScript. Then undefined. Let's say constant not available. Are you with me? Is equal to undefined. Now, you know you are defining this variable, but you have now said it's undefined. Because you have assigned it as undefined, it will not be available anywhere in your code. Because what you have not defined cannot be accessed. Is that true? So you can say log again. Oh, sorry. Is not available, really available, then you log not available. Now, undefined. So you cannot use it in anywhere in your code. As we progress, you'd understand this would not be available anywhere in your code because it is not defined. Now, there is another data type called null. Said constant defined but not present is equal to null. Null in English parlance, it means empty. The difference between undefined and null is undefined, we are setting it that this is not available at the moment. But for null, 1 minute, available for reference. But for null, it is available, but it has no value. It is empty. That means we can reference this guy, but we cannot use anything in it. It's not a string, it's not a number, it's not an object, it's not an array. It's just null. Does that make sense? Okay, I'll come back to that. Let's move to the object types that we have. We have constant store. This store is an object, and to denote an object, you start with an open curly brace and end with a curly brace. Can you see that? Now, in your object, you define objects. You define objects using key and value pairs. So what do I mean? You can say gender. Then, can you see? Your key and your value is separated by a colon. Gender, you could say male. Now, this gender here is referring to a string value. So in an object, different keys can refer to different JavaScript types as value. Does that make sense to you? Take note of the first types that are up here. The object key can refer to any of them as a type. Does that make sense? So you could say gender is male, and then you delimit objects key value pairs by a comma. So let me come back here and comment it out. What we are saying is, can you see this comma? So if you want to move to the next line, hold on please. If you want to move to the next line, you need a comma. Without this comma, it's going to throw you an error. So let's say gender is male, age is a colon again. Can you see? 25. Now, if you move to the next line without a comma, remember I said you delimit object key value pairs by a comma. If you move to the next line without a comma, it will throw you an error. So after age, let's say gender, age. What else do you use to describe a person? Name is Emmanuel. Now, there is an error already. What's the error? Unexpected identifier. It's expecting that we add a comma here, and then we're fine. So now, we have said we have this type of data types. We also have the object data types, and one of them is object, array, and date. We are talking about the object here. Object, you declare an object by using an opening and a closing curly brace, then key value pairs, separated by a colon, delimited by a comma. So now let's log the contents of so we have this is the person object. Now this person object, let's call it person. You can come here and say name this is the person object's name, right? And then you come here, you use the dot operator to get the key and the value. So you say person dot name. So this is the person object name, Emmanuel. Let's do same for age and gender. Person dot age, person dot gender, age, gender. So what are we saying here? This is the person object name, this is the person object age, this is the person object gender. Does that make sense? Now another data type, another object data type is the array. Constant classes, or we can say schools. We want to get the schools this Emmanuel guy has attended. So because there are a list of several schools, take note here, you put gender, male, age, because they look like they are different classes of properties. But if it's the same class of property and it has multiple values, do you get that? It's a class of property and it has multiple values, you use an array. So we are saying schools that he has attended. Schools that he has attended, you do an array, then you write St. Gerald Secondary School. You separate it by a comma. The next value, St. Luke's Primary School, separate by a comma. The next element of this array, can you see? You could say Federal University of Technology. You can ask me, why can't I use an object instead of using an array? That means I would now come here and say school 1. St. Gerard Secondary School. School 2, Federal University of blah blah blah. School 3, St. Luke's Primary School. Why do I need to keep repeating schools when I already know that they belong to a particular class? So if I realize that the property I'm trying to define a value for has multiple elements, and they belong to the same class, I'll use an array store instead of an object store. Does that make sense? Makes good sense to you. So as we progress, we are going to discuss our array methods, object methods, string methods, every data type that you have seen here today. In subsequent classes, we are going to be declaring, working with the methods that JavaScript has provided for them. So you can do a lot with string. You can get the first character of a string. You can get the length of a string. Very different methods that you can use to manipulate all these data types. So for every data type you have, there are methods provided by JavaScript already for you to manipulate them. Does that make sense? So now, let's take the last data type. That is the date data type. Because date looks like a string, but it has its own format. It has a specific data type allocated to it in JavaScript, and it's the new date object. So basically, to create a date, you just do new date. This will give you the present date now. But if you want to format a particular date, you can put it in this bracket as an argument. So let's log the date we have. Constant. No, before we log the date, let's quickly log the first school that this guy went to in the array. So we can come here and say log the person's sorry, hold on, the person's first school was, then you remember how we log the string you want to use to log, and then a comma and the value, right? It looks like when you're also declaring an object key value pair. The only thing is this one is the string comma the value, and you can decide not to put the string, just log it directly. You get that? So the person's first school was schools. That is the variable you declared, right? Schools. Now to get the first element of an array, you start from 0. How do you do that? A bracket, a square bracket, and put the index. So this is index 0, this first element here. This is index 1, this second element here, and this is index 2, this third element here. So 0 is the first element, 1 is the second element, 2 is the third element. So when I do this, I've declared an array. You see how we declared an array? You declare an array using a square bracket, and then it is 0 indexed. You get what that means by 0 indexed? It starts from 0. So when we log the first school, can you see St. Gerard Secondary School? So the variable that was declared as an array, so you put the square bracket because it was an array, and you just put the index of the elements inside this array that you're looking for, and it will pick it out for you. Now let's log our present date and end today's class. Log present date is dates. Can you see? So this is the format for dates. So we've talked about the string data type, the number data type, the Boolean data type, the undefined data type, the null data type, the object data types that we have, the object data types, and then we have the object itself, array, and date. Thank you for your time, and have a great day ahead.